when we think about life and where we are, it's important for us to understand that the collaboration among individuals, among colleagues, is very, very important for all of us. We have many goals to accomplish in life. We have the opportunity to grow, to excel, and to understand the roles that we can all play at this university and at home, in our communities, and wherever we may go. As I listened to the welcome by Mrs. Baxter, and she used the word that women are powerful. Am I correct? Okay, good. And she's reinforcing that again as she's returning her acknowledgement to me. And I certainly concur with that. I remember my own mother, a powerful woman who, as you may have heard me said, in years gone by, grew up at that time in the Virgin Islands. There was not much educational opportunities beyond the 3rd grade, but both she and our dad made it to that point of what was available, and they set a solid ground and a solid example for all of us. She was the one who kept us in line. Our father worked on one of the outer islands during the week and would be home on weekends. And we would make sure that we could not go out of line, whether boy or girl, because we were going to get it. And she was firm on us and made sure that there was a good example set for all of us. You know, as we have grown over the years, from culture, from place to place, we've seen many changes occurred in the lives of women. Women in years gone by were relegated to the position of a home economist, the one who made sure that things were taken care of in the home. But that has evolved even more, where there are many women who are professionals in their rights, in various vocations and various careers that are leading the way in so many different ways. When I look here at UCC, in our own cabinet thus far, I'm surrounded by all women thus far. And I'm wondering with the interviews that are going on right now, I haven't seen the final list, if we're going to get a man or two, you know, so that we can have some balance in all of that. Yeah, but I recognize the value that all of you, that each of you bring to your work every day. The passion, the understanding, the knowledge, the wisdom, the wherewithal, the integrity to ensure that we're able to have a great institution here at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. We have many wonderful things in store for the future. And many of these are going to be led by you as women. Many of these are going to be activities and opportunities to help us be directed into the way and in the form that we desire to traverse here at UCC. And as we come here today to focus more on the strides made in the area of technology and law and entrepreneurship, I think those are the 3 areas represented here today. And we have our speakers, our professional women, our sisters, who will lead the way. I will be sitting right here, listening with a keen ear to try to learn and to try to understand so much more of all of the wisdom that is bound up in all of our presenters here for today. So I'm honored for this privilege, for this opportunity, and I really look forward to hearing what will transpire here. Now, someone sent me earlier today, and I'm going to try to pull it up here quickly. I think it's a poem or something. They sent it to me on WhatsApp, and I'm going to see if I can find it. Okay, yeah, it's right here. Expand. It says, "Woman of God," and I'd like to share this with you. People wonder how you keep smiling when things are falling apart. They wonder how you can forgive when someone has broken your heart. People wonder how you can give when you're down to your last dime. They wonder how you manage when you give so much of your time. People wonder how you resist when temptations are all around. They wonder how you keep standing when problems weigh you down. People wonder how you survive when you're fighting against the odds. They wonder what's the secret ingredient when it's all because you're a woman of God. As I recognize all of you here today as women of God, and as you continue to move forward and to strive in your careers, that you will do so, shine as brilliant stars for all of us to see, and to deliver that gift and that wisdom that God has placed in you. Thank you, and let's have a great gathering.
All right, that was a great point. Thank you, Dr. David. Next up, we have Mrs. Bathsheba, I love that name, Burley Douglas, who is going to introduce today's speakers. Clap her, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Kadia. Ingrid Riley. Ingrid Riley is a pioneer in Caribbean tech startup ecosystem builder, serial media entrepreneur, syndicated tech writer, and the Caribbean's leading tech event producer. She's also the founder of Silicon Caribe and Kingston Beta. Natalie Rose. Natalie is the head of department for the information technology. Natalie is the head of department for the information technology at the UCC, an award mobile app developer with a strong passion for computer programming. She's a fellow of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, a global member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer, the founder and president of the Caribbean chapter of the Internet Society, where she's making strides to improve Internet access and awareness in Jamaica. Natalie is currently pursuing her doctoral thesis in the Department of Computing and Extended Reality to Enhance Dynamic Learning at the University of the West Indies. Melrose Reid. Melrose is a Queen's Counsel and defense attorney who earned her first degree in education language at the Micah Teachers College, her master's at the UWI in business administration, majored in international finance, and minored in international marketing with honors. Melrose has worked in both public and private sector at various managerial levels. She later transitioned into the courts, thereafter the DPP's office, and has made a name in Jamaica's judicial system, operating her own practice for over 17 years. She's passionate about community building and upliftment of women and adolescent teens. There is so much more about her dynamic persona, but if you ask her, she would say, I'm human. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our speakers today.
All right, so Miss Riley is the lady you're seeing on the screen. Can you wave, Ingrid? Right, so she's
Hi there.
seeing. Please make her feel welcome.
Thank
If I'm
you.
not mistaken, Ingrid, is this your first time at UCC?
No, I mean, as a speaker, yes, but not there definitely in terms of knowing. I've attended a couple of events there for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to invite Miss Melrose Reid and our very own HOD in the IT department, Mrs. Natalie Rose, to the stage, please. And so while they make their way to the stage, I'm just going to throw out some facts for you. Did you know kind of situation? Just to give context to what it is that we are talking about today. So did you know that more men than women have access to the internet in over half of the region's countries? Did you also know that regionally, women have less training on digital technologies and are less confident in their digital technological skills, which leads them to be involved in digital and tech spaces less? And one of the reasons why this is so is because of the responsibilities women bear as childbearers, as mothers, as keepers of the household. Did you also know that this situation got worse, measurably worse, due to the pandemic and the added responsibility that women had to carry the household during the pandemic? There is a widening digital gender gap as it relates to job, and specifically as it relates to women being investable. And being investable means that you are primed or ready or attractive to investors. So we find that women who want to enter the IT space, the tech space, the digital space, especially as business owners, get less investment than men. And that is something that we need to address, because we're not any less creative or innovative. Our ideas are no less amazing, but we don't attract the same kind of investment as our men do. And that's something that the IDB and the UN Women Caribbean is seeking to address, and a conversation that we want to have during this International Women's Day. And so Dr. Davis said something earlier, and I think it's apt. He said that he's really surrounded by women. And I think UCC in that way is pioneering as it relates to the percentage of women in leadership position at the university. And that's something for us to be proud of. Can we give ourselves a round of applause for that? Because you'll find very few universities where the head of their IT department is an actual woman. And so we're also very proud of our Mrs. Rose. She's not just the head of the department here, but she's also a member or fellow of several international bodies that are very hard to become a member or fellow of, which means that she's doing something incredible. And she's also the founder and president of the Jamaican chapter of the Internet Society, which is also a big deal. Ingrid Riley, as you can see on the screen, Ingrid Riley is what we call the doyen of the digital space and the tech space in Jamaica, meaning that she was instrumental in the development of the space. She's the founder of Kingston Beta, and shameless plug for you, Ingrid, which is happening tonight.
Yes.
Special Women's Day edition happening tonight. And Kingston Beta was the first space where persons in Jamaica, men and women who were interested in tech and digital, because as Caribbean persons, as persons in Jamaica, we tend to be passive users of technology and digital spaces, not necessarily innovators and creators in the space. And so Kingston Beta wanted to change that dynamic. We didn't want to just be known as the island of sun, sea, and sand. We also wanted to be known as the island of tech and tech innovation. And so Kingston Beta was instrumental in pushing that forward. And it turned 16. When did Kingston Beta turn 16, Ingrid?
On February the 28th, we celebrated 16 years as the Caribbean's first tech event and longest running tech event and community, startup community. Yeah.
Excellent. And Kingston Beta has received international recognition for the work that they are doing in that space. And Miss Melrose Reid, QC, KC King's Council, yes, ma'am. You're correct that when she's Swedish. Okay, is an experienced attorney, and Miss Melrose Reid is here today to really talk to us about the legal aspects of it, because Jamaica, in many ways, Jamaica is at the forefront of a lot of women's rights issues, especially as it relates to implementing laws that in some ways ensure, at least in some measures, equality where it relates to pay, especially. And so she's here to talk to us about that and also share her experience as a woman in business, as an attorney, which is again, predominantly male-dominated space. So let's start the conversation off by asking each woman here to give us a brief introduction, to share their thoughts, their initial thoughts on the theme, which I don't think I told you what it was. All right. The theme for today is innovation, technology, and education for achieving gender equality. Miss Rose, what are your initial thoughts, man with the mic? Thank you. What are your initial thoughts on the theme for today?
Well, it's a very good theme because one, there's always a disparity between females and males in technology. They're, you know, they don't have that employment opportunities, the education to actually go into the world and manage the technology itself, and the resources are not there for them. We need more policies to encourage women to have their own businesses in IT, and we need to encourage the government to have policies to put in more technology from in the primary and secondary education. I know that Augustown has the laptop per one child initiative that is going on, but we need to have more of that going on in Jamaica. We are a developing country, but really it's a little bit more than developing. But even here at UCC, we notice the trend. We have more males topping technology than the females. I think females are very scared of IT itself and say that, wow, this is too much for me. Or would I get a job versus a male? You know, so we need, it's coming from a historical event where IT is more empowered by men self in the working world, as when you go for a job interview, the panelists are mostly men. And they look at the lady and say, can you manage? Can you lift this equipment? You know, do you know how to handle a screwdriver? You know, and those little things. So they look at a female and say, no, you're too dainty. You're too soft. We need somebody who is rough and strong, who can manage. Not to mention if you're a slim female trying to go into the tech world. So I think we are putting in things. We have girls in ICT in Jamaica. We are putting in policies and initiatives, but we still haven't reached there as yet. Handing over to Ms. Francis.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Rose. I'm going to go to Ingrid. Ingrid, what are your initial thoughts on the matter? Natalie said, if you're a dainty female going into tech, you're going to have problems. But outside of that, we are not where we need to be in terms of encouraging more women to be involved in ICT, in digital tech spaces. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm so glad she mentioned that, because it highlights something that I've been saying for at least 20 years as a woman who's been in the space for almost 20 years. I hide my gray hairs very well. It's the fact of the matter is that globally, regionally, locally, we've done a very poor job of showing the range of opportunities and possibilities in the tech industry and all the various sectors that are, you know, within that industry, and all the various things that technology actually transforms by being integrated. You know, when we think of tech, we think of things that either we need to have a screwdriver for, or we need to lift, or we need to know how to code. That's a really small aspect of the possibilities in terms of a career, or possibilities in terms of you know, starting a business in the technology industry. And I think we have to get better at sharing that information in terms of what are the possibilities and opportunities, showing examples and sharing more stories of women who are doing different things along the wide spectrum in the technology industry. And so I think, you know, and I think that can come from initiatives like what we do at Silicon Caribe and Kingston Beta. It can come from educational, from primary school up to college. We basically start promoting the wider range of possibilities and opportunities in the space. And so it is appealing to both men and women. We tend to think that women are, maybe not be open to the coding or even the tough stuff because of our socialization about who a woman is or who a woman should be, especially in the career space or in the business space. So for me, I'll just say that right now, that girls and women need to be exposed early, often, and consistently to technology and the range of possibilities that exists in terms of them having a career and also starting a business. And it is everybody's responsibility as women who are already in the space to share their story and also to share what is possible in those spaces. Because the fact of the matter is that we hold up half the sky around the world, in the region, and in Jamaica. And we have a lot of buying power globally, regionally, and locally. And we need to know more about that information, embrace the power and influence that we have, and really kind of jump into the opportunities that actually are abundant around us. So that's where I'll stop for now.
Awesome. So Ingrid says that opportunities are abundant around us, but in order for us as women to be able to access those opportunities, we need early and consistent exposure and access to technology. Miss Rose, Miss Reid, I'm getting confused with the roses. Miss Reid, what are your initial thoughts on the topic? I know you're not a woman in tech, but we still would like to hear as well, especially because you're not a woman in tech. What are your initial thoughts on the topic today?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very well. You know, Mrs. Baxter talk about women who is powerful. When I sit, I feel that I lose my power. So if you allow me to stand, then I think, and because I'm short too, then when I stand, I think I gain a little more power. So before I address the issue, I just want to say that it's my pleasure to be here today, and I'm grateful for the invitation by, I'm going to say Mrs. Douglas, because those two names, I mean, it's a technological problem to pronounce them. And since I'm not in technology, I may just miss the mark, so I don't want to pronounce them. The second thing I would say that in the legal profession, when you call someone Queen's Counsel, it means that you have a particular title that you get from England. So I have not got that title. So legalistically, I'm not a Queen's Counsel, but technically, in the technical world, I am a Queen's Counsel because I'm a queen and I'm a counsel, right? So I hear you all talking about space and so forth. I am in space right now, and this is the space I'm in. And the only data I can tell you about is my age, because I know from my birth certificate to today how old I am, and that is the data that I know. So it's interesting for me to be here listening to you all talking about space, open space, white space, digital space. All I know, and this is what a little bit of fun here, but it could be a serious fun. When you all get into the space, you're going to need me and other attorney to settle those contracts for you and to also bring you into line with how you need to organize your businesses. So although I am in the open space and not in the technological space, we always fit into the space. All right. Now, International Women's Day, I have done a little history or research on it. Was amazing for me, and women may want to know this too, that this started in the year 1857. And it started in the United States of America, in New York, when a group of factory workers staged the first formal female women demonstration because they were demonstrating for equality of work, shorter working hours, and also for them to be recognized in the working field. Generally speaking, that is the history. And ever since 1857, women has put themselves in the international market by going out to say, we are persons too. We need to be recognized. We cannot be there just working in the home. And as Dr. Davis said, women are the foundation. Men produce some seeds in the net. But when it comes to the home and the foundation, I am almost sure most of us can say our mothers, and we can also say that we as women have also laid that foundation. So I'll pause with the law until my time comes again, but just to say that I am in space and I am in data, and you're going to need us.
That she's absolutely right, because one thing, and it occurred to me while you were speaking, one thing I want everybody to understand, especially the women in this space, is that transitioning into tech doesn't mean you have to have some formal training in tech. You can transition from where you are as well. Tech encompasses everything. And the more technology advances, the more it's going to encompass everything, which is why we need to ensure that we are making space for minority groups, for disenfranchised groups. Women and girls are part of that group, and that we are also positioning our women and girls to be more attractive in the future of work, which is going to be tech driven. And so I want to start off by asking the question to our panelists, just to explain, when we talk about equity in the digital space or equality in the digital space, what do we mean? What we are not talking about is usurping or getting ahead of men. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about mainly equality in terms of opportunities, right? Ms. Rose, Ingrid, that's what we're talking about. So let's start off with that. What do we mean by a gender gap, and why is there an inequality within the digital space for women? Who wants to go first? Natalie, you're here.
I think I'm being picked on. All right. So equity, that is a divide gap with as I said before, the access to education, resources, job opportunities. And I'm just talking about Jamaica now. I know there are a lot of this going on worldwide, but the thing is that there is a cultural norm. There's a gender stereotype in technology. If you notice, going back when you were 5 years old, 5 to 10, your mom, for a female, what your mom normally purchased for you? You're a 5-year-old, a dolly, right? And what they normally buy for the boys? Cars and trucks. So why we keep that trend going is because that's what you know. You never would say, let me buy a truck for the girl at a 5-year-old. Yeah, you would never do that because you think the girl should be more taking care of the home.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you're telling the female that, hey, your job is to take care of the home, what is going to happen when they grow up? You already build it in them mentally that this is where you should be. Take care of the family, take care of your husband, clean and wash and other things. But if we start telling the females that, hey, you can go beyond that, then, going into the world of tech would not be such a big challenge. It also means that females will be able to embrace technology easier and accept it as any other job. And what I also have been observing too is that in the IT world, a female and a male, they get the same job, but some industry will pay the male higher than the female. And the reason for this is that we have things happening every month. You're not there, and you're not able to handle the equipment. You take a lot of leave. Men don't have that opportunity to take so much leave. So we think that the men can manage much more than the female. The male can give more in that area than the female. So they pay the male a higher wage than a female. And that should not be the case. So we have to train. We have to know, go to the government of Jamaica to see what is going on in the different industries, the public sectors and the private sectors. And Ms. Reid have to work with the government in coming up with policies and laws to protect females. We also need mentorship programs. We do have successful women in Jamaica here in IT. We have,
Including you.
looking at me, right? That can mentor younger students, younger females to rise up to be better than them. And we have the capacity, but we have to have some mentorship program here in Jamaica that can push and drive females. So that's what I have to say.
Right. And later on, as the conversation develops, we're also going to be talking about why it's all of us responsibilities, not just the government of Jamaica, but private sector institutions like UCC, universities, higher education institutions, and us as individuals, why it's important for all of us to become stakeholders as far as this is concerned. Ingrid, is technology making us more or less equal? Why or why not?
Before I jump into that, I'd just like to add to what Natalie has said earlier in terms of the cultural influences and mentorship and that kind of a thing. There's a saying that goes like this: you can't be what you can't see, and it is really important. And I'm glad that a day like today and a month like this gives us a chance once a year to do more in terms of showing the faces of women and sharing their stories and that kind of thing. It's really, really important that women set aside some of these cultural influences that they've been socialized to over the last couple of hundred years, I guess, and by taking up space and by coming front and center, by when asked to speak, to show up, to mentor, to share, that they do so consistently and outside of a day or a month. It's one of the things that we consistently do at Silicon Caribe. We're the first to put together a top 50 Caribbean women in tech list. We ran out at year 2 in terms of who to put in that box and to put on that list. But if you want to go to CaribbeanTechWomen.com, you'll see a list of women from across the Caribbean and diaspora, and they're in a wide range of tech sectors here in the region and in the diaspora. And it shows their stories and who they are. These are women who are their sisters, their mothers, their aunts, their grandmothers. They're at different stages of their life, but they're still involved in technology, and they are doing away or disrupting the cultural norms of what a woman or who a woman is supposed to be in this world, and also in this industry. And I'll be beating this drum until I'm 99, that women need to step forward. It's not a matter of, and why we do need the help of men and policy and governments and that kind of thing, it is also the personal responsibility of women to step forward and to show up and to share and to connect and to facilitate and to invest as well. So that's what I'm going to be beating this drum for this entire conversation. I just want to let you know that in different ways. But yes, but please go ahead with the other question. The other question, I'm happy to answer that as well.
Right. I mean, basically what you and Miss Rose would have gone over was kind of the historical context to how why we're here. Most of it is socialization, nurture, etc.
Yes.
But we are now in the technological age. We're in the
Yes.
information age. So the question is, now that we are techified, right? Are we more or less equal? Which is really asking, has technology leveled the playing field for women?
I believe that we have improved without question. When we look across the region, we see that we have pretty much all of the countries have in excess of 90% mobile internet access. Definitely over 70% across the region in terms of internet access. So we can go into nuances in terms of the certain aspects, certain parts of each country are internet poor, or just, they're having issues. But for the most part, over the last 10, 15 years, we've definitely, in terms of access, have that. So there's some level of equity regarding that. We have more, access to information, because we're at the age now where, because we have access to Google, we can no longer remain ignorant or just simply not know about how to do certain things. And so in terms of access, there's definitely been progress regarding that. In terms of our ability to understand how to leverage the internet to do different things, we've definitely have some progress, but we still have a lot of way to go. I think there is room for a lot of education and guidance and the development of digital skills in terms of how to leverage, even as the access to the internet, to do different things, to learn, to connect, to start a business, to get certified, to do certain things. So I would say yes, that we've had some progress. And of course, yes, we do have more to go. And so I think just understanding what is actually going well, we could actually double down on that and then move things further forward. So yes, I would say we have made some progress, and there's a lot more to go, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot more to go. Okay. In terms of this IDB study, identifying that women who are interested in creating businesses within the tech and digital space, I know I have had that experience. I know you have had that experience, Ingrid, that there are barriers there, real or imagined. There are barriers there. Real as in barriers to investment. I know, Ingrid, you have recently partnered with DBJ to restart the pitch competition. Historically, though, from your experience, in terms of percentages, how many women come to these events ready to pitch, and what is the rate of investment returns? Let's just say, what is the rate of take up from investors in these ideas that these women would have brought forward to pitch?
Yeah, over the last 16 years of doing hundreds of Kingston beta events and doing other events, whether it is competitions or hackathons or conferences, in the audience, we'll always have a balance of women and men who attend the events without question. There's always a level of curiosity that brings them all to the events. When it comes to pitch competitions, specifically around Kingston beta and around Caribe beta and everything, without question, 80%, 90% in some instances are men. And as I've all along this journey, I was asking why. And again, it was women one, have to be communicated to differently. They're incentivized differently than men. And of course, because we're different. It's not that one is more superior or the other. We're just simply different. We respond to different narratives. We respond to different incentives. And so we've got to be very clear and intentional about how we communicate with women in terms of like, hey, this is possible. Hey, come and join this community. Hey, this is a platform for you. This is a safe space for you to come and to pitch, to learn, and then go and do something else. So we've had to change the narratives. We've had to put more, be very, very intentional about putting more women, making sure that our panels or keynotes were always a mixture of men and women. But in terms of the low number of women coming to pitch, again, it goes to the lack of seeing other women doing it and feeling confident that they can do it too. Secondly, what we've done poorly globally is to show the possibilities and a range of possibilities that are there in terms of starting a digital business or a tech-driven business. And yes, without question, there has been a gender bias since what we kill Philip, as we would say, that channels more money to male-headed startups around the world. And that's because of how networks have been set up, how social groups have been set up, and how certain systems have been set up in terms of who has, where the money comes from, who is in charge of that money. And then there's that bias of cutting a check to the people who we're surrounded by. And invariably, those are other men. Until we have more, women who are in the investing space, more women who are in those networks and those systems that say, hey, you are actually ignoring half of the world, you're missing an opportunity actually of being aware of how women are looking at things, how women are solving problems generally, and how women are solving their own needs and their own problems, and how that opportunity is massive when you look at it as well. So yeah.
For sure. And when it comes to technology and being consumers of technology, women tend to be very high up there. So missing opportunities, meaning missing an opportunity to involve a very large consumer group.
Absolutely.
Adoption of your product or service.
Absolutely. If I can just give you a quick example, Katia. I remember going to speak at the University of West Indies, and I wanted to, because I knew the room was going to be filled with primarily guys. And I said, and they're all gamers. They're into esports and the video games and that kind of thing. I said, did you all know that I think at the time it was like 54% of all gamers worldwide are actually female, and they lost it. Right, because again, we've seen that is all men and how they're interacting, and they're competitive, and it can't just be that. But the facts spoke for themselves that again, 54% of all female of all gamers across the world involved in esports are women. Yet still, there is a misogyny and whatever other culture that does not they want to position the women as cheerleaders and not as actual gamers. And they didn't see the opportunity in actually even creating more games for that female economy. You know what I mean? So it's really, it's a blind spot. And I hope that more women see the opportunity of starting businesses and getting involved in these spaces and taking that money.
Exactly, especially as it relates to esports, and that was a great example because that's now a multi-billion-dollar industry internationally. Yes. And men are the ones who are making most of the money in the sports industry. But as Ingrid said, 54% of participants in that industry are women, and that also gives rise to cyberbullying. Gender-based violence online, discrimination against women in the esports arena. And there have been several instances and scandals that we have seen online of women who have suffered in these spaces, and all they want to do is the same thing that the men are doing,
Yeah,
play the sports, and as Ingrid said, getting that money.
Yeah.
But it has been difficult for us, especially when you can compete on a professional level, because you have pro esports level. And women who compete at the professional level with esports really do suffer in terms of what they call locker room talk. You've heard of the locker room talk,
yeah,
which is really forms of sexual violence against women, sexual harassment, and all that kind of thing. That's a predominant problem within that specific space,
Yeah.
which is it doesn't encourage more female participation, which means that we're not getting the bag like we should have, because that's where the money is, right?
Yeah.
But stepping away from tech for a minute to get Ms. Reid involved, Ingrid talks about representation, and I'm sure that's something you can speak to in your profession, being a representative for whether you want to be a representative or a role model or not. Automatically you become that as a woman in a predominantly male-dominated space, and a woman who has done so well for herself within that space. What has been your experience in terms of being a woman in law and becoming that role model, that representative for other women who can aspire to be a technical QC?
I'm not biased to ourselves as women, and I'm not here saying anything on the positive side more than women.
Right.
However, women, I think we need to stop blaming society, blaming the government, blaming men, and we as women need to empower ourselves.
All right.
And you see, self-empowerment, as the moderator said, is not taking over from men, not putting ourselves in the men's position, but we need to recognize where we are going, where we want to go, where is the route, what are the routes to go there, and go. You know, nothing is holding us back.
So create our own opportunities.
of course, absolutely.
And we cannot look to GOJ or any country's government to say, I'm going to set the space in technology for equal pay for female as well as male. As a matter of fact, internationally, and I say internationally, I mean internationally, say for some countries like Ukraine, Iraq, and those countries that are still male dominated, and females are just squeezing themselves into the entire economic field, or the space, as you would want, let me use the words, in the economical space, and economical technological space. The world has now recognized the power and the influence of women, and women, you be sitting in this audience here, need not to sit and say, I came to this university as a secretary and I am going to retire. And then you complain and say, school, the government, the pension is this. We need to have self-empowerment. So don't blame government, don't blame men, don't blame. As a matter of fact, the whole thing about blaming should be taken away. But let me just highlight you to a little of what happened in Jamaica, our own country, when it comes to equality. Because when we're thinking about women empowerment, we question ourselves and ask ourselves, are we empowering ourselves over who? Over other women, over other men? So carefully, when we say women or empowerment, what we're really looking at is how we, each individual, can step towards the place. And I see the meal inside there. I see the entire cake. I'm not going to eat off the cake, but I am going to take my slice out of it. And do not take a slice that's going to choke you either. Just take the slice that you can manage with a glass of water. And that is the empowerment. It's not a competition. But from the same form, when you emancipate them from mental slavery from England, I talk about it. Stand, oh my God. This is yes, we have actually got ourselves liberated from the Queen and our King. We borrowed many of our legislation from England and all the Commonwealth countries. Matter of fact, even the United States and other countries that have no connection with Rome and the Roman law. We borrow our laws from them, so when you have fundamental law in the entire world, foundation comes from Europe. So we had employment and rather than have all that, they understand how long it is. That and there is always. Women should work at night, women should not work at night, women so, a lot of people that go to work. And then in 1975, there was a lot of people for many years about women equality. Now, equal rights, equal pay, legislation for men and women. So I not fight for this entire portion of national. That's not what happened then. Equal pay for men and women. Why do I go and speak about empowerment? So therefore, right now, the civil service. If you are the black there, right? You are a technological savvy person, and the doctor there is that technological savvy person, and you have the same certificate or the same, and you are employed in the civil service. You're paid the same. Unless you're going to do something different. So inequality is not so much inequality as their basic organization that they have those sorts of inequality. However, structurally, legally, most organizations, whether they be private sector or public sector, they go on a quote and a position basis. So if you come in as a sector or a male nurse or a female nurse, you're paid the same. Here's the thing, and if you're not in that policy, then you what the law says. That is really equality. But I think I heard someone who indicated that when you're in certain other sector, you might not get the recognition because they and so forth. But I am not in the technological world, and in the legal thing that equality is there pretty strong. And be in your neighborhood. Point two, the world international fair of equality in human rights, equality in equality for the human. I thought here, this time to come back to information as to how our own country has elevated equality for women in particular. They're not in a technological field, but when you look at it, when you can launch up there, you come up. What's your word you're using to monetize yourself and make yourself a thing.
Thank you, Ms. Reid. Just to reiterate, when we talk about equality, and thank you so much for explaining the laws, because we find ourselves in we find ourselves with an advantage as women, as Jamaican women, in some instances, in most instances, I'll say, as it relates to pay equality, thanks to the laws that we have on the books. So we are not saying that that's not a thing, but there are stark disparities when it comes to opportunities. So you can't get equal pay if you're not in the space. You can't get equal pay if you can't access that space, or you are not positioned to for upward mobility, right? So before we get to pay equality, we have to actually find ourselves within the space. And so that's really what we're talking about. And it's especially difficult when it comes to technology. I can appreciate that you said you're not in the tech space. So going quickly, we want to ask about, and here it's not just women. In general, when it comes to the future of work and what's happening in terms of careers being killed, let's just put it that way. I remember we did a youth summit a couple of years ago for Youth Month, and one of our speakers said that what we need to realize is that technology kills job on site, because the point of technology is to make the human experience better, to make life easier, make processes easier. So technology kills jobs on site. And so we are seeing where jobs that are usually what we call jobs for women, secretary work, administrative kind of roles, they're being taken over by computers and softwares and systems. Softwares and systems, right? Clarifying that it's softwares, not the computer themselves, they're not sentient, right? So softwares taking over these roles, and a lot of the roles that we, especially because we're in a very small and closed labor market, a lot of these roles are being taken over, and we may become less attractive globally as persons within the labor market. So what are we doing now to better position ourselves, especially our women and girls who are already at a disadvantage, for economically, to be economically competitive in the future? Ms. Rose, what are we doing now, or what should we be doing to ensure that when that future actually comes, we can still compete and eat food?
Okay, so what we have to do is to encourage that digital literacy here in Jamaica more. In India, they have a program called Teach Her, where it's allow female teachers to be able to use the laptop, the mobiles in doing online learning and teaching. So they are giving them these devices so that they're capable to teach students. In Tanzania, they have something called digital IT, sorry. So, and in that program, what they're doing is mentoring the female students and teachers in networking and going online to do their classes. So those are different ways that we need to also embrace technologies, embrace initiatives like those and strategies, so that when we look at the female population here, we should have more person embracing the digital, the devices, the technologies, the use of the platform. I mean, UCC is doing a great job hosting synchronous and asynchronous classes. So it's forcing students
to become familiar with the technology.
No, I must ask the audience, how many of you actually have online accounts? How many banking accounts? Yes, online banking accounts. Good. No, 10 years ago, you said you're not going to do it, don't it?
Don't trust it.
Don't it? Don't you say it? 10 years ago, and I said, I'm not going to do no online. My money is going to stay right in the bank. Me, I go to join the line.
Under the mattress.
And under the, she said under the mattress. Don't it? A lot of you guys said, I will never ever go online and access my money there. But guess what? The technology is forcing person to adopt. Even if you don't want to, it's forcing you. Mind you, the technology is moving fast, you know. cell phone will not be a physical device anymore. And if you don't accept the technology, what is going to happen? You're going to be left behind. I mean, it's kind of brute force thing that the technology is actually pushing this on you and you don't have a choice. And because of that, we are open to a lot of cyber crimes, cyber attacks, cyber harassment. Yes, but we are actually training persons how to mitigate against these things. But it doesn't mean that embracing technology is a bad thing. It's just that you have to be aware of the advantages and disadvantages of it.
And I just want to highlight, just in case you guys didn't hear, highlight the point that smartphones are no longer going to be physical devices. We're rapidly moving into a space where, I don't know how, any of you ever heard of wearable technology, wearable tech?
Mhm.
Wearable tech, right? So we're rapidly moving into the era where smartphones is going to be wearable. If you are a Trekkie like me, you already know what that is. So and we're also talking about maybe some kind of inserts. Now I know we don't want to go into that because people are very iffy about ChatGPT, much less inserting anything into your bodies, but chips, right? But we are rapidly moving into that area. And so in a sense, the world is moving ahead. Technology has even outpaced the law in many instances, Ms. Reid, and the law is having to catch up. Yes, to ensure that we are still protecting industries, to make sure that we are still providing avenues for recourse, right? So the law is catching up. We are all catching up as a society, but especially being in the Caribbean, which means that we're out of the loop in certain cases, outside of Silicon Valley, outside of the areas where the technology is advancing. And we have even more work to do to get to the point where we're not just on social media posting, but we are also creating technology and making technology work for us, which is something you're a big advocate of, Ingrid. Finding our space in technology, not just using technology for technology's sake, but adapting technology to advance certain industries, right, Ingrid?
Yeah, definitely.
Ingrid?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you. What's your question?
So I'm saying, I know that you are a big advocate whereas it relates to making technology work for us, not just mass adoption of technology, but adopting technology to make it work for what it is that our product is.
Yeah,
Especially as Jamaicans.
Absolutely. We're living in a global digital economy and we're becoming more digital in terms of how we live, work, and play. And we have the opportunity, I think, to when there's change, there's always some resistance, and the resistance is primarily because we fear, and the fear comes from not knowing. It's not familiar, and I just believe that as we become more knowledgeable, as we become more exposed, as we understand how things work, and as we personalize how this particular technology can help us to live, work, play better, then the adoption process in certain areas will definitely be faster and with less resistance. And when it comes to we all need to remain open to learning new things. Just as Natalie was saying that, some people is like, no, I don't want a cell phone, nobody track me, or no, I don't want to be, using like a link app to pay my bills or to share, money or whatever it is. And here we are, because it's more convenient. It saves us time. It costs us less, it's a beautiful thing. And so in terms of being open to learning new things for adopting in our daily lives, learning new skills, and also seeing how our current skills can be transferred into certain sectors that will enable us to get better jobs or just have different kinds of jobs. I think it's as human beings, we have to realize that we are meant to evolve. We're meant to learn and do interesting and new things. And technology is enabling us to do that in a faster way. But we can pace ourselves somewhat in terms of how we want to live, work, and play within this global digital economy and culture.
All right. I know earlier, Ms. Reid, you were talking about women creating their own opportunities and not just relying on the government or anyone else outside of ourselves to make the space. Ingrid talks about taking up space. So we want to take up space, and by taking up space, create our own opportunities. And so in that way, we are responsible for ourselves. But earlier when Ms. Rose was talking about cybercrimes, you mentioned that there's a Cybercrimes Act. And so we do know that the government have made strides in terms of understanding the technology and catching up in terms of the laws, catching up. But what are some of the outside of or including the laws, what are some other things that you think that the government can do to ensure that we have an opportunity to empower ourselves? Within the legal sphere, please. Yes.
The question I was saying seems like a political question. And I don't think if the Prime Minister or one of the ministers were here, they could have answered that particular question. But what we tend to do in Jamaica in particular is to rely on legislations to create opportunities and also to create levels of penalties, levels of various grounds of improvement. I don't want to sound like I am not a human being, as my friend will tell you that I always said two things. I'm a child of God and I'm a human being. And those two things will always carry me as Ingrid says, when she's 99, Ingrid, I'm sorry, I'm going over 99. So I will, when I'm over 99, I will still see you, okay?
Absolutely, we'll be there.
Yes, the reality though is I don't know if the government themselves can do much to empower. Let me just use the legal profession for example. There was a time when I think most of us, if you're over 50, 60, I'm not telling you what space I'm in and the data that I'm in, the legal profession was dominated by males. Are we aware of that?
Yes.
An attorney, a female rather, would be a secretary.
Yeah.
And the most that female could be is a paralegal in the office. Now, if you do a statistics in Jamaica now, you will find that the legal profession is dominated by females. Yes, we need a hand for that. Right, yes. Now, if you go into the medical field and you look at what is happening there, at one point, there was even a joke about doctors to say, and the mother sent him to a doctor and then the female something and the answer, nobody could get the answer because the answer is supposed to be a he, not realizing that the doctor is now a female, some long time joke. In the medical field, more females are dominating that area. In the engineering field, females are in, what's the word I'm using? On the rise, for a smaller word. So in the technological field, I want to say it's not a government, Madam Moderator. It is us as individuals, forum like these, or fora and more forums, forum like these, to enlighten people. For example, I'm here in this digital world. I have to be in it. Right now, we hardly go to court anymore. We sit in our offices and we do Zoom. So I can be in Australia and the court doesn't know where I am as long as I'm properly dressed and I'm doing my matters. The prisoners do not have to come to the prison in trucks, you know, and they are late and they are driving fast and the police is going fast and prisoners are going. They are right in their cells there and their matters are being dealt with right there. Bail applications and everything. So going back to the technological people, technology has taken place. Now we are doing e-filing in court, although we have to produce the hard copy. But before we produce the hard copy, we have to do e-filing. I don't know where we are going to go next, but technology is taking over. And therefore, it behooves us to become technologically savvy. When I got online with my client's account, I nearly died for the first 2 months. I could not send off the people's money. I had to make apologies to them, etc., etc. I went to the bank. The bank says, no, you have to do it online. So now, name, tick, tick, manage beneficiary, name, tick, tick, money's gone. Send a WhatsApp, look in your account, tick, tick, money's there. I don't know, basically, and let me just go one thing. I have a daughter in Florida. No, I don't have to travel again to shop. I mean, interestingly, WhatsApp, look at this. I'm in Victoria's Secret. Men don't know what Victoria's Secret is. Do you prefer this little one or this big one or this medium size one? Which color do you prefer? And I can say the thing, the this, the that, and technology has taken over. And therefore, the technological people will have to do more to encourage and educate. And when you do that, then you allow us to earn, because when you become rich, then you're going to buy your houses and whatever it is, properties, and then you have to come to us to draft your contract. So listen, make more of this happen so I can survive
Make more
until
money.
I supersede Ingrid's age.
Completely agree. And on a serious note, the more we become involved in technology and talking about making spaces, the more we can create space for more people to make more money, whether they're in or outside of the technological field. So we're wrapping up, and I actually want to throw 2 questions to Mrs. Howell Hussey from BDCI and to you, Dr. Davis. So the question to Mrs. Hussey, when we're talking about entrepreneurship, and I think I'm going to have to take the mic to you. When we're talking about entrepreneurship, I know the BDCI, the whole intention behind the BDCI is to create I'm going to use the word space again, for persons who are interested in starting their own businesses to have this as a resource, this institution as a resource. And I know part of the mandate to Mrs. Hussey has to do with technology and technology startups. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what we do is assist businesses. And funny enough, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, how many women do we have in our courses?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that 70% of our courses are women.
Yeah.
And the majority of the women that we serve there, because we provide business plans, we do website development, and we even have consultants working for us. And a lot of these same consultants that provide website development as well as marketing plans and so forth, these are women. So, and my experience coming from Barbados is that Jamaica is a matriarchal society. Honestly, we have so many more women here in leadership positions. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hussey.
Fantastic.
Yes, so what you were saying, Ms. Rose?
I'm saying that, we do have a lot of females in leadership roles, but we really don't have a lot of females in technology. And that is where we need to start working on.
Thank you. And that leads nicely into the next question for Dr. Davis is what do you think the role of an institution, a higher education institution like UCC is in improving access to educational opportunities, especially in STEM fields for women and girls?
All right, thank you for your question. I think it's important for institutions of higher education to provide opportunities and access for learning to occur. Whatever the modality is that may be used, we need to be the best at it. We need also to ensure that as we interact with investors, that we are able to develop a value proposition in this particular area that will help to expand the role and involvement and engagement of women in the technology field. It is important for us to ensure that as we expand as institutions of higher education, we do so in a manner that will be beneficial to all. That's the mission of UCC. And even as we plan here at UCC to expand, whether it's a campus here at Worthington Avenue or to develop a real expansive campus elsewhere, which I'll share at some future time, we want to ensure that technology is right at the forefront of all of this, and that we are on the cutting edge, and that we travel those parts where others fail to trod, and go out there and make it happen. And that's what UCC is all about.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just shout out to Mr. Gordon, who's also in the audience. I know Mr. Gordon is doing a lot of work as it relates to innovation and building out the Innovation Center and making sure that we have even more resources for women and girls to access, as well as the men at UCC to access. Mr. Gordon, quickly, what are some of the things that you are working on that can also assist UCC to improve access to opportunities, especially in STEM?
Presently, we have a partnership with the OAS to build a lab, a DIA lab, along with the ILE, which will see a lot of the women enrolled at UCC getting access to robotics, virtual reality, AI.
Oh, very nice.
Training. Additionally, we have boot camps in finance, which you're going to see more women enter in the finance world, being venture capitalists, private equity, angel investors.
Thank you.
We have to talk, yes.
You want to say something on AI? She wants to say something on AI, but that goes back to what you said earlier about we need to have more forums like this, where we are coming into the space together, we're exchanging information and ideas and having the conversation, because conversations can be empowering as well. So you want to say something about AI?
Just to indicate where technology is going, although I am just an adjunct, just to indicate where technology is going, although, as I indicated, that I'm only an adjunct to technology. We in the legal field, we are having many different types of technological seminars, and where we have gone now internationally is that they are now using AI, which is artificial intelligence. And they have tested one such case either in Australia or in the US. I am not sure where it was, because I was at the seminar over Zoom. And what they're doing now, so you put your case in to this artificial judge who comes up like a robot, and he listens to what is happening. Neither the client nor the attorneys, a matter of fact, I'm glad I'm getting old, because technology is going to take away my job. So there's no attorney in court, no judge, no client. The client is in prison, and that robot stays there. I don't know what it is. What is it? ChatGPT. I have no idea what it is.
I think she's talking about ChatGPT.
Yes, she's talking about ChatGPT. So you just give the AI, the software, a scenario. It builds the case, it builds the briefings, everything. It writes everything for you. So it's taking away your job. You're just going to easy for you.
The one I'm telling you about. So the judge heard the case, made a judgment, found the man guilty, and nobody sees the face of the judge nor anyone. That is what they told us in our legal seminar. It is called artificial intelligence.
Specifically, it's called generative artificial intelligence.
It's still not taking away your job. It's just that you're going to play a different role. Right, the role evolves because the same thing we had. A lot of taxi drivers are saying that, oh, with this automated car that is driverless, what is going to happen to me? But we're going to need somebody to maintain those cars. If it breaks down, we need to, and the system, helping doing the system. No, but I'm just saying to you, you as a driver will still have a part to play in it. So your job is just evolved to something else. But you see, you as a driver is going to have to be going on different training programs where your skills, your knowledge will be needed. Do you understand that? So, I mean, look at the ATMs, a good scenario of ATMs, right? We have tellers doing other things. So we don't need to go to a teller anymore. We go to an ATM, yes? But the teller, you don't go to an ATM? No, the tellers have been evolved to do something else.
Oh Lord. We went there. The long and short of it is, and this is a prime example. This is a snapshot of what is happening in the larger society when, as tech professionals, we come and we say the role is evolving. You're going to have to upskill. You're going to have to retrain, move into a different role. This is the pushback we tend to get. No, because I was doing this for 20 years. It is the situation is we have to evolve as the technology evolves in order for us to remain relevant and in order for us to be able to continue to earn. And that's just the truth of it. And sometimes it's going to mean complete change of profession. That's what it means sometimes. Sometimes it means more training, right? And sometimes it's not just an upward movement, but a lateral movement as well in terms of your profession. So that's food for thought. And it's not that the software is taking over your job. It's just that your job has become obsolete because there's software that can do it better and more optimally than we can. And that's just the facts of it. So we're going to have to shift and become more flexible and be able to pivot in order to survive in this space. All right. So I'm glad that stirred up something within. I hope that was passion. Right. So as we wrap up the last question, I'm going to put to Ingrid. Ingrid, as I said, as a trailblazer in the local digital and tech space, how do you think that we can better position women and girls personally and professionally to attract opportunities in tech?
Again, we create these networks. I encourage women to take personal responsibility to remain curious about what is happening in the world around them. So if they hear about a micro community that meets online, like Women in Tech Caribbean, if they hear that there's a Women in Tech panel or or there's a Women in Tech event that we at Silicon Caribe and Kingston Beta does, go ahead and attend. If you go and read up on the blogs, on magazines, and see if you find things that are interesting to you, and reach out. You follow people on Twitter, you become part of communities on Facebook or LinkedIn. Take that responsibility to be curious and to learn more and to reach out and to ask questions and to ask for help, and to see what you may be interested in, what you may be interested in switching, what you may be switching to in terms of jobs, or maybe you're interested in starting a business around. I am more about right now telling people that they need to take some personal responsibility to empower themselves by being curious and doing things a little bit differently. So that's what I'm hoping that women do a lot more in this day, and in this month, this year.
All right. So Ingrid says that as women, we need to become more curious. And we also, as women who are already in this space, need to become more visible. We have a lot of men in the newspaper sharing their stories of how they overcame, and they're now business owners. And we need more women sharing their stories, because
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
does matter. Final words, Ms. Rose.
Don't be scared of technology. It's changing every day, not every year, every day, right? So you have to start embracing it. Don't run away from it. If you have to make sure that you have to jump on the train and don't left behind, because technology is in every department, every industry, no matter where it is. If you're a doctor, you have to know how to use the technology. Yes. If you're a lawyer, she have to learn how to use the technology, just like she's saying that you have to use the online. So you have to educate yourself. There's no time when you will not learn. You have to keep that learning going. Accountants is the same thing. You have to educate yourself with the software. Okay. Teachers, we do have to educate ourselves too. So technology, and persons who are not in, who are still students, you have to embrace it and educate yourself. The next 20 years, you know what is going to happen? We're not going to have physical doctors. We have robots. We're not going to have teachers, physical teachers anymore. Yes? As I said before, you may not have something called laptops that you put in your lap. You're going to have things like holograms, where you just see energy of things and it can talk to you. Okay? So, and the thing is that it makes you not, it takes away the amount of work. So persons who are overloaded with work, that is going to be reduced. We're going to have a cashless society, no more money. Those coins that you have save up at home and not being spending, no more coins, no more dollars. Everything is cashless. You're not even going to have the card anymore that you call credit card. And that is where technology is going to drive us. And if you don't embrace it, you're going to, I don't know if you watch movies, you're going to be on the Outlander, the underground people. Don't laugh. That is where technology is going. The thing is that technology is not stagnant. It's always changing and moving, and it's not getting to worse. It's getting to a better for human beings. And that's my take on it.
All right. Let all who have ears, let them hear. All right. Ms. Reid, your last words.
I just want to say I'm grateful for this opportunity to participate in this seminar. And I am grateful to Mrs. Douglas for inviting me. I thought I would study nothing more again in my life, because the space I'm in and the data, my data, was telling me that maybe I should just take life a little easier and don't study. But now I know and I am not joking, I need to do a course in technology. And therefore, somebody need to reach out to me.
Right. Fortunately, you're in the right place. You're here. You're in the right place. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Ingrid Riley, Natalie Rose, Melrose Reid. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I know you guys would have heard some things that would have upset you just a little bit, just a tad, right? But I hope it makes you think a little bit more, especially for the young people in the room. We need to plan for what kind of future we want for ourselves. Especially, no, we're not, I'm not discriminating against old people. I'm just talking specifically to the young people in the room. We need to do a lot more planning in terms of what our future will look like, future job prospects. And that would mean that we will need to upskill, as I said, and you are actually in an institution that allows for staff and faculty opportunities to learn. There are courses here that you can take, and there are other avenues that are available to you here that you can take. So I would say do those courses, and you will see Miss Reid in your classes, right? Do those courses and start getting yourself knowledgeable as it relates to technology. Thank you again so much for being so attentive and for participating. And again, happy International Women's Day to all the women here. But before you leave, Miss Novlet, before you leave, I want to say a special happy Women's Day to you, Miss Novlet, because one of the things that we all agree on is that one of the things we look forward to the most is walking through the door and greeting Miss Novlet in the mornings. And we are also extremely, extremely grateful and appreciative to the women in the auxiliary department who keeps the university looking clean and tidy, and they are always pleasant and always a joy to be around, especially you, Miss Rose, wherever you are. So thank you very much. And I'm going to invite Mrs. Burley Douglas to do the vote of thanks and to well, I think I would have already done the vote of thanks, but I would invite. We have some tokens of appreciation for our speakers here. Ingrid, I'll make sure you get yours.
I am so sorry, Ingrid, technologically, I will take yours.
So I'm not sure if Ingrid has gone, but later on today at the Sky Deck at Victoria Mutual in New Kingston, the Kingston Beta is happening. I encourage you ladies to come out because the pitch competition starts again tonight, just to come and see what it's about. So next time you're up there pitching, $300,000 is at stake. So I invite you to come and take it in and see what that scene is about, Mrs. Douglas.
So on behalf of the University of the Commonwealth, Caribbean, I want to take the opportunity to thank you so much for your contribution to today's discussion. It was quite meaningful. And of course, you are that's the life of the party. Thank you so much, Melrose. And this is a token of appreciation. And I do hope you stay back to just enjoy the rest of the proceedings. Okay. Here. And to our dearest Natalie Rose. Thank you so much, Natalie, for coming here today and to educate us on the tech world. It was indeed enlightening. You know, we learned a lot. There's so much that we really didn't know that was happening and that you are a part of. And so today is one of those days that we want to say we appreciate you. We appreciate your contribution to the university and to the wider nation building. So thank you so much. And to Ingrid in La La Land. Okay, so. So she's not on. Thank you, Ingrid. On behalf of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, we want to thank Ingrid Riley for her contribution to Jamaica nation building and for being a part of this panel discussion. Very enlightening discussion. It was cultural rich in technological atmosphere, so to speak. So Kadia, you will accept this on behalf of her. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. We do appreciate you taking the time out to be with us today. We hope that you had your little gems that you would have taken away from this session. And I want you to meet us all in room 201, is it? For a reception, all right?